Oh no.
I just,
Oh no.
I
I like
haven't,
how
I still haven't figured out how to turn that stupid woman off.
it's it's careful with the stupid woman comment.
I
All
know.
right, misogyny is running rampant.
It's
Um,
okay. It's only an automated woman. This
yeah,
meeting is being recorded.
I know, dude. It literally sounds like one of those warning messages for like there is a tornado in your area.
Oh yeah.
Please find cover immediately. And you're like, okay, that's that woman. But hey, cheers, buddy.
Hey, yeah. We should sponsor. Woo.
Yeah, Buble. Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum.
Welcome to Better Not Next Week. I almost mispronounced that.
Better, I heard better not next week. So
Did you?
I don't. Honestly, name change.
Honestly, I mean, without Gavin here, it might as well just be Better Nut next week.
Yeah, yeah, we
'Cause
should talk about that, eh?
he is a nut. Apparently, he got drunk at a bar tonight and couldn't be on.
Yeah, rest
So
in peace, poor guy. Got in his car and decided to drive after, and now he's not with us. It's upsetting. It's fine though. It's next week. I'll be over it.
and he'll be back.
What a loser from the dead.
Well, so that means we're not going to lead with Formula One because whenever he's on, we have to lead with Formula One or he gets too bored to stick around. Which we'll get to that. Don't worry. We will get to the whole Hamilton Verstappen incident that happened on the weekend and
boy.
discuss a couple of the other
Kind of a
races
good
as
thing
well.
Gav's not here.
Yeah,
For
right.
that. Yeah.
We'll get into that as
It would
well.
get out
But
of hand.
first, we're going to lead off with hockey, and I mean, I understand that we haven't done an episode in a few weeks, basically since before the Stanley Cup Final even started, and that's just a scheduling thing. We're going to be infrequent. I'm extremely busy with sailing now, and then the Olympics start in less than a week, which I'll be covering at night as well. Thank you.
I know we congratulated you the last time,
I
but
know.
it's been a month. So
But I mean, that basically means that I'm going to be running on 6 or less hours of sleep most nights for the next 2 weeks.
good thing you have a Starbucks right down your street there, bud.
Yeah, that Starbucks that I totally go to constantly.
It's a good thing I don't live where you live, because man, I would be poor.
Because of Starbucks exclusively.
Literally, yeah, I'd be going there every morning. My drink, dude, I got my drink today. Okay, everybody, I get the most expensive drink
I
probably
know.
possible.
It's like a
here.
$7.50 drink.
Dude, listen to this. I think they mischarged me today because I went after I worked out for the first time at a gym, which was insane. I can't believe that I went, like, it's a year and a half has passed. Over a year and a half. No? A year and a half? I don't know. But yeah, haven't stepped foot into a gym since, and crazy experience. It was good, nice and clean, sanitary. And I went to the Starbucks after, and my drink cost $10.50, bro.
Dude.
I was like, oh my God. In case anybody wants to try it, though, venti iced chai tea latte, three pumps of cinnamon dolce, 3 shots of blonde espresso, top it off with vanilla cold foam and light ice, and you're all set. And you can have a meltdown in about 6 hours after.
Nice.
So,
And I can get emails
yes.
because that's what that was. As I always forget to close my mail account before we get started as well.
And what about your female account?
Now,
Boom.
hey, you know, word play.
Wordplay. La 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 la.
Right. The Tampa Bay Lightning are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
And Patty Maroon is a
Three.
three-peater. I like Pat Maroon. Like, you like look at this guy while he's celebrating, and you're like, how do you function? Like, how do you even like step on the ice properly, let alone win 3 cups in a row? And it's just glorious. I'm like, that's.
And then he's just getting absolutely obliterated afterwards.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, drop the cup, bro.
Yeah, did you
because he
see the
slipped.
damage that they did to the
Yeah, I mean, he did give an explanation after how it was like very slippery because it was wet and you know, slippery because of what? The rain or the amount of alcohol that you were pouring all over the place because it wouldn't fit in your mouth anymore.
So I would be willing to say that it was vodka rain that was the reasoning behind it.
They're like, beer bongs, anyone? Half of it's on the floor.
Oh no. Let's
Whatever,
do
you
it out
know?
of the cup. Whoa, it's on the ground.
Oh, whoops.
Oh,
Whoops.
wow.
Yeah.
Guess we need the backup one now.
Yeah.
Anyways, the games themselves. Um, I mean, credit where credit's due to the Montreal Canadiens for getting a win in Game 4, pushing it to 5, doing exactly what the mayor of Tampa Bay wanted, so that the Tampa Bay Lightning could win it at home and celebrate properly, as they did not get to do so last season.
Yeah, which I agree was, that is nice for them. I'm glad that they got to do that. There's nothing that anybody wants growing up as a kid other than, winning a cup at home in front of a full
packed
stadium,
house.
right? And so, like, that's a dream come true for all those guys. Definitely sucks to see Carey Price leaving the ice once again without a cup in his hands. Ah, man. But now available to be picked up by the Seattle Kraken.
Which we'll get into in a second.
Yeah.
The play of the games. I mean, you already had your face in your hand when I mentioned the games themselves.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a black mark on the NHL for a long time. The whole season just in general. We already talked about the refereeing, but I thought the final round was at least and more properly refereed. It looked like a lot of these guys, there was a lot of consistency, and you're only using a few refs at this point too, right? For the finals. So I think they had 4 they were rotating of the referees, and then
unfortunately one of the 4 was Kelly Sutherland.
Right, which I looked up the stats for him, which I didn't even know was a thing. I was just looking up. Yeah, so
it's wonderful, actually.
Yeah, which is crazy. And this guy is the only referee in the finals where the home team would win 65% of the time. Every other referee was 51, 52%. You know what I mean? Like that's a reasonable percentage.
Yeah.
That's half the time. That is exactly how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And then for whatever reason, Kelly Sutherland, he's sitting at a 63 or 65%, something like that. It might even be 67%. I can't remember from, the top of my head, but
which, I mean, realistically only looks like, it only looks like a small difference in a numbers section, but the guy's been reffing for like 30 years because he's in his early 40s. Is Kelly Sutherland.
If that's your percentage, man, that needs to be looked at. Somebody needs to do something about that.
Well, and this is where we come back to the same point that we've had for years. We've had for years on this show since its inception, basically, and certainly since you joined the show, is that the referees in the NHL need to have some sort of accountability. And I mean, when I go on Twitter and I'm watching the Stanley Cup Final and I see just rampant tweets from verified media members about the officiating and not about the play of the game, like, it's a significant problem.
And then you have, the commissioner, he who shall not be named, comes out for an interview with Ron MacLean and then just states that there's no issues with the refereeing, and then Ron MacLean rebuttals and says, well, why are you looking at cross-checking then? And then some BS response about it. And it's like, what do you, like, man.
It's Gary Bettman is the ultimate example of lawyer speak.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's PR for the league. He has to do it. I understand that, but like there has to be things happening behind the scenes, because you maybe just don't say anything at all about how the refereeing is, and just talk about what you are looking at to improve the game, and just keep it on that level. But like to say there's no problems and that these referees go through a lot and blah 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 blah, it's like your full-time job. Okay, I'm not gonna make an excuse for a firefighter, who can't do his job properly. Like that's just BS. Nobody was going to do that because we hold them.
It's a hard job to do, right?
Yeah.
Firefighting.
Well,
Which it is.
Yeah, exactly, man. We hold everybody accountable in every single profession, right? If I don't know what I'm doing on a set or on stage, if I don't know lines, if I don't know cues, if I don't know anything that's going on in the show, or if I don't sound good, I'm gonna get fired.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with you. If you don't know what you're talking about and you have all these weird things going on, they're gonna get hired. You're gonna get fired. Nobody's gonna like you. But these referees get away with way too much crap. Way too much. And and it sucks that the Tim Peel situation happened and they used him as like just fodder, and then that was it. And then they just pretended that everything was fine. And then there's Chris, and you're like, bro,
Chris Lee.
why are you
Yeah.
Why are you here? Why are you here? And I'm glad they didn't use him in the finals. And obviously there was a reason they didn't use him in the finals. And if you're going to say that there's no problem with your refereeing and you don't use that guy,
Well, and if Wes McCauley was available to referee, then I don't think Chris Lee would even make it as far as he did. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, it still hasn't been disclosed exactly why Wes McCauley was not around for anything outside of the first round. But if Wes McCauley's there, then Chris Lee doesn't make it out of the second round, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. Chris Lee shouldn't have been in any round. Chris Lee should go to the AHL, and they should just supervise him until he's ready to become an NHL referee again.
Well, he's in his late 30s. He's in his late 30s, early 40s too. So he's already well past that.
Yeah, I get it. Like it's a fast game. Things happen here and there and whatever. I 100% get it. You know what it's like. I know what it's like. Yeah, I've never reffed at that level. You've never reffed at the level of the NHL, but it doesn't matter. You can still have some sort of empathy for these guys. But like,
I mean, I've reffed some pretty fast hockey. I mean, I've reffed Bantam Boys AAA with full contact. Like, yes, that's not the NHL or the OHL or whatever, but it's not that far off.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I don't know. They're just, that was the only big issue. But like, I felt they definitely did a better job, especially with this final round. A lot of penalties were called. They were good penalties being called. I thought there was consistency within the calls, albeit a few that were like, okay,
there were some
like,
pretty weak ones at times where I was like,
and you're like, man, you just went through the entire playoffs with this precedent that like anything goes, and then some guy
like was legal.
Yeah, and some guy like taps your hand, and all of a sudden, slashing, and you're like, come on.
Yeah,
man.
like that was the slashing calls were like preseason level, which was dumb. But it's just the fact that we have to again be discussing the officiating is just the problem, and so we hope that gets remedied, and we hope that Gary Bettman just doesn't continue to stand behind a smoke screen of lawyer speak. Just whatever. I know.
I can't believe you did that.
Well, and the other thing, I'm glad you actually mentioned the interview with Ron MacLean, because that actually got a lot of backlash because Ron MacLean did not ask him about the situation in Chicago at all.
Right. Well,
and there's some speculation that Gary preemptively said, I'm not going to discuss it, and which we don't know about. I think we know enough about Ron MacLean that he would have given Gary Bettman the opportunity to address it had he wanted to, and had Ron MacLean been allowed to ask him about it. But that's where the speculation comes from, I think.
Yeah, I think everything really that can be said from the NHL at this point about that has been said, especially with his press conference that he did. And so like to ask him anything at this point, I think is redundant, because it becomes mostly personal opinion or like a what if hypothetical scenario, which really shouldn't be said about a legal like an ongoing legal investigation.
Well, and
Um,
he was
and
just
it's the
going to
team's
give,
responsibility, right?
yeah, and truly he was just going to give the same rehearsed answers that he gave in his press conference,
Yeah,
which
because that's what the 35 lawyers who are backing him in the NHL up will tell him to do. Sorry, there's a fly
right.
just bothering me. We'll tell him to do, right? Because, you know,
Yeah.
you're the face of the league.
And I don't know, the answers that he gave in his press conference were quite frankly appalling to me, simply because uh, it's not what he said, it's his delivery and his nonchalantness about it, and in fact him even joking around the answers that he gave.
Yeah, which that can't happen. You can't have that happening with such a serious issue. You can't. So
Yeah.
I agree with you on that for sure. In terms
And
of like what you can say as that guy, I kind of I understand where he's coming from and not saying a whole lot. You really can't. But you also can't do crap like that. So
yeah,
I wonder
you
why
know,
people don't like him.
right? I mean, you had multiple reporters asking him complex questions, and he's basic, you know, he's turning to his deputy commissioner and like chuckling about, oh, it's this, it's we're talking about this again, and it's like, bro, what do you
Of
mean?
course you're talking about that. It's a
Yeah,
major issue, dude.
it's literally the
Hello.
biggest story in sports right now, and you're joking about it.
Yeah,
Like,
not okay.
yeah,
Not okay. Ding.
yeah. Sorry about that. Anyways,
Goodness.
I bring it up because it's a issue that shouldn't go away, and you know, this whole, not even the allegations itself, just the track record that this guy had to be hired by an NHL team and then get a letter of recommendation to his future employers, where he then continued to commit crimes, is like, it's just stunning that a guy with a record of this was hired by an NHL team, did it, it went unreported by multiple people who are currently still highly involved in the NHL. Guys like Kevin Cheveldayoff, Mark Bergevin, Stan Bowman, who's still with the Blackhawks, Joel Quenneville, the head coach at the time, other players. You know, I mean, there's quotes of like Nick Boynton saying everyone knew. So that includes somebody like Duncan Keith, who's come out and said he didn't know anything.
Right.
Now,
And I think
it's
the
a bit of,
handling of
yeah, like it's a bit of saving face, because there's, again, this whole culture in the NHL where you say the wrong thing as a player and you're gone.
right. Yeah, and I think handling it you know, saying that the team is the one who handles these things is ridiculously irresponsible. There should be a third party investigator for these sort of issues, and neither the NHL or the team at hand should investigate these things. Now, I think the
Which they have
NHL should.
done. Just before you continue, they have
Oh, okay.
hired a third party, but it took
Okay.
them way too long to get there. Like, that
Of
only
course.
happened a couple
And
weeks ago.
do you rely on the hiring of the third? Like, who is it? Is it like somebody's dad?
So the third
Like,
party, get this, the
good.
third party is the same lawyers, or the same defendants group. Oh God, I've just lost it. But it was the same group of defendants who have defended like um, several other like major issues in sports. God, I forget the quote, and I don't have it up, but it's an like, it's such an obvious hire to cover things up.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens, I guess.
I'm very interested to continue to follow it as things continue to unfold. But so we will be keeping updated on that. I don't want to get too bogged down with all the details and everything like that, because quite frankly, there are other people who have done a better job than us of breaking it down. Multiple athletic articles have been written. Katie Strang is a phenomenal writer. She's the one who also did the story on the Arizona Coyotes and their whole just shambles going on there. So she's written about this. The guy who originally reported it out of Chicago has been phenomenal. 31 Thoughts has been incredible with it.
Always. Yeah.
And a couple other podcasts that I enjoy listening to. The Steve Dangle podcast has been incredible with it. And so has the Staff and Graph podcast with Rachel Dory. Has been amazing with it. So if you're interested in continuing to know more about it, find out more about it, continue to follow along with it, consider subscribing to The Athletic, following those other podcasts as well, and continuing the discussion so that this doesn't go away, because it very much seems like the Blackhawks and the NHL just kind of want this to go away, and it shouldn't.
Yeah. Yep.
Moving on to happier things, the Seattle Kraken.
Release the jerseys!
Yeah, that's
forget releasing the Kraken. Release the fucking jerseys. Sorry. Anyway.
He's very mad about it.
I just want one, bro.
Well, yeah, we want one.
We do. That's my gift to Jared and his gift to me. I'm just going to buy each other jerseys.
Should I put more light on? It's getting a little dark in here.
It looks good. You need one of these, man. You need one of these guys.
What is that? A circle light or whatever it's called?
Yeah, it's just like an octagonal. Yeah, I know it's not a ring light. It's a
ring light. That's what I wanted.
Softbox with a light.
That's good though. I just put
$65. Look at this.
What, on Amazon?
Lighting. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's Limo Studio is what it's called. It's not like expensive. It's not super high quality, but who cares? It's a light.
Exactly. That's all you need.
It's enough. Anyway.
Send me a link.
I will.
So, expansion draft is in a couple days.
Which is so crazy, man. I'm so happy that we're here. I love Seattle. Great city. Loved being there. I want more muscles from the market. They're so good. They're so good. But yeah, I'm so pumped, man. Oh, they have a solid array of players that they can choose from. Oh boy.
Oh yeah. It's let me just pull up the protected lists again here. They are going to have a smorgasbord of just so many players to choose from. One of the biggest stories is, of course, Carey Price being left exposed by the Montreal Canadiens. Other big names include, Alexander Kerfoot, which you thought was hilarious.
You cut out there. What?
Other big names include like Alexander Kerfoot, which you thought was hilarious that it was a big name.
Oh yeah. Well, Gabriel Landeskog, man. If they don't choose nuts. Choose him.
Well, so the thing about it is there's guys that they can take, and then but they have to keep their salary cap in mind as well, right?
Yeah, of course.
You can't just pick all of the best players available, but
yeah, absolutely.
It's possible that they will go with Gabriel Landeskog. I mean, Vladimir Tarasenko wants a change of scenery as well. He's exposed.
Price, Landeskog, Tarasenko, boom. Build your team around them. Oh my.
It's pretty highly thought that Mark Giordano is going to be taken by them.
What about Yanni? I mean, solid $5 million a year, like not too bad.
Well, Yanni
Uh,
Gord is a top 6 forward,
the
absolutely.
fact that Max Domi is worth as much as him,
Mm,
wow, they're not
I
going to
don't
go with
think
Max
so.
Domi. Yeah, 1 year at 5.5 million,
Yeah, that's not it.
or it is worth less than him.
See, they're like some of these guys. So I've got the notable players left unprotected, and Max Domi is on this list. I
Yeah,
think,
I
and so is Jeff Skinner actually for Buffalo.
okay.
I think that Seattle would be dumb to take both of those guys.
Yeah,
They're just massive. Like, because why are you? All you're doing is actively helping out those two teams for free. Because Jeff Skinner's a $9 million anchor on Buffalo's leg. You know,
anchor.
I mean, truly,
Not to. No, I know, but the pun. It's great.
right. I wasn't even thinking about that. And then Max Domi is a $5 million just buck
Tent peg,
sandbag.
like. Oh, we went the same route.
Yeah, bucket of pucks.
Oh man.
You know, guy Matt Duchene is on this list.
How much
Um,
is Van Riemsdyk worth? Because he's on the NHL Network Radio, the Sirius XM. He's on their notable names list here.
yeah,
Also,
he's
Niederreiter's on there as well.
Nino Niederreiter is a massive select for Seattle. If they do decide to pick up Nino Niederreiter, that is a big pickup because
He,
he is a top 6 forward as well. There's a lot of top 6 forwards, right? So with
well, you know
some of
what?
these, you've got to break down. Okay, what are we going for? Obviously, this is a team that's going to be capable of winning now, in the sense of like winning games. They're not going to be
Build your fan
dog.
base, and yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to be dog shit like most other expansion teams, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, do you want Jakub Voracek? Probably not. Um, I would rather take James Van Riemsdyk.
Yeah.
He's a net front presence. He's a power play guy. He can even just, he can probably be a third line guy if you want. He's a little bit of an more expensive third line guy.
Well, I
Um,
I was gonna bring up the fact that you have Killorn, who's injured. Isn't he looking to get surgery or something like that? So he's probably not going to be available for most of the season.
mhm.
Carey Price he just met with some doctors in New York for his knees. He's probably not going to be playing this season.
Yeah.
Why don't you just pull a Tampa Bay, put them on your LTIR? If you happen to make it to the playoffs and they're ready to go, pop them in. You got a sick team. Like, just literally just do the same thing. Like, Killorn knows what that's all about. So, like, uh, I was thinking about that. Like, I think, and you got trade fodder at that point, right? If you don't use them, great.
Well, and
Send them away. And
I look at the Montreal Canadiens protected list. Okay, so it's Josh Anderson, Yoel Armia, Jake Evans, Brendan Gallagher, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Arturi Lehkonen, Tyler Toffoli, Ben Sherratt, Joel Edmondson, Jeff Petrie, Jake Allen. The one that makes me laugh the most is Joel Edmondson because he's just a big
that's the one that
tree.
makes you laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Jake Allen for sure.
No, Jake Allen is the reason the Habs made the playoffs in the first place.
Uh,
If Jake Allen doesn't
yeah, that's
play as
true.
well as he did when Carey Price was injured in the latter part of the season for like a month there, the Habs
That is true.
absolutely crater.
Okay, so now for wait, I don't understand. They have Anaheim Ducks has Ryan Miller available. Isn't he retired?
Unofficially. You know
Yeah,
how the
why?
NHL does this where people like say they're going to retire but it hasn't happened yet, or
Yeah, so he's not going to get picked up. I'm just looking at the
no.
list of available players now, and I'm looking at got Kevin Shattenkirk as a solid D man who's available. Also Adam Henrique is available. He's a solid guy.
Adam Henrique would be a good pickup for them as well.
Um,
Yeah, like there's been mock drafts
You got Ekman Larsson's protected, obviously.
Yeah. So there's
Right.
let's break down. So Sportsnet released the Seattle Kraken mock draft.
Okay. I haven't taken a look at that. I've been wanting to see it.
So this one, I want to break this one down because there's a lot of picks that I do not understand why Seattle would take them. Right off the bat, from the Anaheim Ducks is Hayden Fleury. If Adam Henrique is available, why the hell would you take Hayden Fleury, who's literally a castaway from the Carolina Hurricanes?
What is the cap hit for both of those guys? You know?
Hayden Fleury.
And
you want to know both of them
versus Henrique? Yeah. So, just because I don't know what they're looking at in terms of how they're building this team.
So Adam Henrique is 5.825.
That's a pretty good.
And Hayden Fleury is 1.3 million for one season, and then as a RFA who is arbitration eligible.
I mean, if you're looking for like a cheap guy who's pretty good, I mean Fleury, yeah. I mean it's not a bad idea. It's definitely a massive discount compared to what's his name, Henrique, good old Windsor Spitfire. So I can understand at that point why they would choose him.
Well, and the other thing too, I mean, Hayden Fleury's 25, never really got the opportunity in Carolina because their defense is fucking stacked. Stupid good.
Oh, yeah.
And Adam Henrique, I guess he waived his no trade clause or modified no trade clause so that he could be exposed because he is 31 years old. But, I mean, he had a pretty good little run there at the World Championships at the end of May.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you, I get, $1 million, man, Jesus Christ, that, pull a $10 bill out of your pocket right now and just hand it to somebody. That's the equivalent.
Yeah. So Hayden Fleury, yeah, okay. I understand that. Arizona, they figure they're going to select, sorry. I'm just blanking because I clicked off it. Christian Fischer, who's a bit of a bust prospect for them.
I've never heard of this guy.
Yeah, so the only reason I know a decent amount about him was because I've done multiple franchise modes where I've taken the Arizona Coyotes and moved them to various Canadian locations because they shouldn't exist.
Right.
So I know a surprising amount about the Arizona Coyotes system. And so Lawson Krause is another kind of underperforming prospect for them, and Christian Fischer is the same. So obviously they've decided to protect Lawson Krause over Christian Fischer, and
yeah, you also got Andrew Ladd here available too from these guys. So I mean, he's old though.
You saying Andrew Ladd?
No, I was just saying that he was available. He's 36, though.
I would
he's
not
gonna retire in 5 months. So, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was just looking at that.
I would definitely not pick up Andrew Ladd. It's not a great selection.
I'm kind of surprised. Oh, we're not there yet. Never mind. I'm jumping. Sorry, you go ahead.
Well, it's not a great selection. And quite frankly, the Arizona Coyotes have actually done this pretty well because they've protected all the guys they need to protect. Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, going down the list here, Connor Garland. They don't need to protect Michael Bunting because he's a UFA.
I mean, definitely protect Phil Kessel.
Protect Phil Kessel because he has everything attached to his list, his contract. Retained salary, modified no trade clause, modified no move clause. And Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who just got handed a $8.25 million no move clause.
What a good
for
thing.
the next.
I'm gonna pee. I can't. I have to.
Yeah.
You keep talking to these beautiful people. I'll be back in 5 seconds.
I will. So it's It's a very interesting situation in Arizona. The one thing that I don't understand is why they traded Aiden Hill and are going to, I guess, at least run it back with Darcy Kemper. Now, they do have the option to run at Antti Ranta, but maybe they're going to let him go to free agency, and they knew that they would potentially lose Aiden Hill in this draft, so they traded him. So despite Arizona's complete dysfunctionality up until now, they've actually handled this, I would say, half decently. And as Sean unprofessionally has a waz during the podcast, which I have absolutely never done before. Never, ever once in my career on Better Luck Next Week have I needed to go to the bathroom in a podcast.
Listen, I could have whipped it out here and filled up this bottle.
I'm also being completely sarcastic because I've done that multiple times.
Yeah, same with Gav, too.
Boston Bruins.
Taylor Hall's available. Don't get him, though, because anyway.
Well, Taylor Hall's available because he's a UFA.
That's
so
good.
He won't be eligible to be drafted per se, because why would you draft a UFA? So they figure that, or Sportsnet figures that Boston will select Connor Clifton from the Boston Bruins. Which, you know, again, it's a bit of a pick because Connor Clifton, he's a defenseman, the right-handed defenseman, I believe. Local guy, is American, only worth $1 million, 26 years old, could be a hit or miss guy at this point. And they've protected everyone else, Patrice Bergeron, Charlie Coyle, Jake DeBrusk, Trent Frederick for some reason, Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, Craig Smith. So, I mean, you could take...
you got Jared Tenorti, who's 6'6".
UFA. Jared Tenorti's a UFA and also was Boston's eighth defenseman, ninth defenseman.
And obviously, if they're not taking Halak or Rask, they're probably going for Price at this point. But I mean, with him not
and both of them are UFAs, right? Halak and Rask are both UFAs. So again, why would you pick them?
Yeah,
that's the other thing. Now, what's interesting is, David Krejci is also a UFA, 35 years old, and it's being talked about that Boston may potentially move on from him. So, yes, the expansion draft is going to be very interesting for some teams, but for some other teams, free agency, I think, is going to be just as interesting. Again, for these first three teams really that we've talked about, Anaheim, Arizona, Boston, because they have some pretty prominent UFAs that Seattle might just go, hey, you want to hang out on the West Coast instead?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely fair. But then, I mean, you also got so many other teams to pick from here. God, there's so many forwards that are so beautiful.
Buffalo, they think they're going to select William Borgen. I don't know who that
What is with the random guys they're picking from some teams? I mean, you got Kyle Okposo who's available.
Yeah, but I mean, do you want that contract? And
that's fair.
he's
it's not worth it.
He's
Cody
a $6 million player, 33 years old, modified no trade clause that I guess he waived so that they didn't have to protect him.
Drake Hagula.
But I mean, he's been a third, fourth line guy for a while, right?
Yeah.
He's just not been very good. They protected the guys. Again, Buffalo has protected the guys they needed to protect. Rasmus Asplund, Jack Eichel, Casey Middlestad, Victor Olofsson, Sam Reinhart, Tage Thompson, Anders Bjork, I guess you could throw in there. What's interesting is they did protect Tage Thompson. Excuse me. They did not protect a guy like Cody Eakin either. He is available.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, Cody Eakin, that's a solid pick.
Yeah, that's a decent pick. He is 30 years old, $2.25 million. So
Not
again, I
terrible.
mean, it all kind of depends, right? Zemgus Girgensons is available as well, $2.2 million, 27 years old. Uh, you know, it could go either way there, really. Um, as we carry on, I mean, do you want to go through each and every team, or should we just kind of focus
Yeah,
in on
I
the
was gonna
Canadian
ask
team?
that. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot to go through. Like, I think we just focus on the main guys here.
Right. Well, Mark
Um,
Giordano's next for Calgary, which is a main guy for sure.
right now, this you were talking about the Sportsnet draft. So let's just go through them and figure out, you know, who's who. I think.
Well, this is what I'm looking at. This is
Oh,
so
okay.
see, the Sportsnet thinks that they'll take Mark Giordano from Calgary,
Okay.
which I think is the best option. There's been talk about Calgary wanting to move on from Mark Giordano anyways. A good leader guy to bring in. You maybe shelter his minutes a little bit because he's so old. But I mean, this guy's two years removed from a Norris Trophy win.
Yeah.
Like
Like
he's
yeah,
not
he's
bad, you
fantastic.
know.
Right.
So
Carolina. What was the pick for Carolina? They got Dougie Hamilton available and Jake Gardner.
so Carolina, they think they're gonna pick Jake Bean,
Okay. Not Peter
which is
Mrazek.
another one. Like that's two Carolina prospects who may or may not pan out. Whereas like Nino Niederreiter is available.
Yeah. See, this is where it gets weird though. Like,
Yeah.
what do they do for goalies? Because I get they could pick Carey Price, but man, he's not playing this season. So who do
Right.
you pick then as a goal? Like, are you gonna go with Peter Mrazek here? Is
Well,
that a
and
good
what
choice?
I'll say is that it looks like Chris Drieger is basically confirmed to go to Seattle. Florida is going to have to move on from him because
Right.
they've got the $10.5 million of Sergei Bobrovsky, and then they've got Spencer Knight, who's basically ready to go.
Right.
So they've moved on from Chris Drieger, who played very well, better than Bobrovsky, really, up
Right.
until the playoffs. And it looks like that's who they're gonna pick, and that's where he's gonna go, because
Okay.
he does have to sign in Seattle, but I think that's where they're gonna go with it. The Carolina pick on here doesn't make sense. I don't know why you wouldn't go for Nino Niederreiter. The Chicago pick, I mean, I guess Adam Gaudette. I don't know. Chicago just traded for Adam Gaudette, and it was a nothing trade because Gaudette is from Vancouver, and like, why are you picking up a guy who was traded because he was a disgruntled like fourth liner who was traded for a disgruntled fourth liner to Vancouver? Like, who cares? I don't know
Now,
why you would pick that.
who did they have on there for for Detroit?
Well,
Detroit's got dude.
so for
Detroit's got
Colorado,
four goalies up. That's so good. Sorry.
so for Colorado, they say they're going to pick Jonas Donskoy, which also doesn't make sense if Gabriel Landeskog is
Why? Yeah. Why would they pick him? Doesn't make any
interested.
sense, man.
Yeah. If Gabriel Landeskog, so the only reason they wouldn't pick Gabriel Landeskog is because he's a free agent. But if Gabriel Landeskog
I mean,
says, "Yeah, let's sign in Seattle," no brainer, absolute no brain
yeah.
pick.
I
Like,
mean, you pick him, you put him, make him the captain of your team. Oh God, what the hell is going on with this fly? You just make him the captain of your team. There you go. You got a big name on your team. Who's the captain?
yeah.
And then you got Carey Price in that in there.
Columbus, Kevin Stenlund. I don't know. I don't know why you would pick like
Michael Del Zotto
literally
is available, bro.
literally the second comment on this Sportsnet mock draft is, this is not a good mock draft. Your team is like 75% prospects and not even high potential prospects.
Yeah.
Which is like Kevin Stenlund, I've never heard of. Dallas's next pick is Adam Masherin. Masherin.
Meanwhile,
Who
Cogliano's
who the hell is
available.
that? Then they have Troy
Marciak's
Stetcher for
available.
Detroit.
Also, Ben Bishop's available. Jesus Christ. Troy Stet, go for it. That's hilarious. Troy Stetcher. Cool, man.
Tyler Benson from Edmonton, which is hilarious. Cale Clegg from Los Angeles. I don't know why you would pick him. Capo Kakinen is a good goaltender pick from Minnesota. Like Drieger and Kakinen would be a pretty good 1A, 1B to roll with year one. And then you can kind of see who goes where. Maybe Kakinen outperforms Drieger, and you see, or again, do what you said, right? Instead of picking Cale Fleury, who is the third hit or miss Carolina Hurricanes prospect on this list.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, he isn't. I'm thinking of Hayden Fleury, Cale Fleury. Yeah, let's reunite the Fleury brothers. Right.
There you go.
In the expansion draft instead of actually picking good players.
I think my favorite thing on here is looking at Edmonton's available players, and then the protected ones. Like Zach Cassian is a protected dude. Zach Cassian's
I think they have to protect him. If I look at the Edmonton Oilers cap friendly here,
Stuart Skinner.
They
protected Stuart Skinner.
Zach Cassian.
Koskinen is available. Smith is available.
I would absolutely not pick Mikko Koskinen whatsoever. You are directly helping.
No, that's fair.
Out of a $4.5 million just wait.
Right. I mean, but we've seen it before where a lot of these no-name guys who have absolutely no place in the league whatsoever go to these expansion teams and they just make a massive name for themselves and they play really well for whatever reason. So I mean, it is possible to find
some of them, and that's what I think some of them will do. I mean, there's Sportsnet suggesting that they take Callie Yarncroke from Nashville, who has had some sheltered minutes and may end up booming in Seattle. Andreas Janssen from New Jersey, which is kind of funny because Leafs guy. Kiefer Bellows, Colin Blackwell, those are nothing picks from the two New York teams. Joey Dacord from Ottawa is just that makes no sense to me why they would pick him. JVR from Philadelphia, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep, it's a good pick.
Marcus Pettersson from Pittsburgh. Dylan Gambrell from San Jose.
Okay.
Who? Vladimir Tarasenko from St. Louis makes a whole lot of sense. Yanni Gourde from Tampa Bay. Sportsnet, I don't know. I don't know if a Toronto Maple Leaf fan made this mock draft, but they think that Seattle is going to take the newly acquired Jared McCann from the Toronto Maple Leafs when the clearly better option is Alexander Kerfoot or Travis Dermott if you want a defenseman.
They could just take Frederik Andersen.
Like, why? Well, Frederik Andersen's a UFA.
Yeah, I mean, but like if you got Carey Price who's going to be out, you need a guy. You need a fucking solid guy. I know you're talking about Chris Drieger.
And Capo Kakinen. Don't underestimate Capo Kakinen. He was very good for Minnesota.
Well, so they could get Nick Foligno, Chenyuk.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. This free agency is going to be interesting too, because these are all UFAs that you keep bringing up.
Right.
So these are guys that Seattle could easily just swoop in and go, hey, instead of playing for those guys, why don't you come join our exciting team?
Yeah, which is great. It's absolutely fantastic. Vancouver Canucks. You just skip that.
Cole Lind from Vancouver, who's a bit of a miss prospect. I don't know why they would pick him. Vitek Vanacek as their third goalie, I guess.
From Washington?
Yeah, I don't know why they would pick him. And then Dylan DeMello from Winnipeg, who shocks me that Winnipeg did not protect Dylan DeMello because he was one of their better defensemen.
Why would they skip out on Justin Schultz? Buddy's won back-to-back Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh.
Also that.
Why would you it seems like these defensemen they're choosing are absolute garbage.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I also don't know, why is Winnipeg protecting Logan Stanley over Dylan DeMello? The best thing about Logan Stanley, in my opinion, was that he's 6'6". Paul
Giant
Stastny is a
guy.
UFA, so they won't protect him.
Yeah, fair.
But you could easily pick him up as well. And your
Yeah,
other
I
your other
I just don't
mention,
like any of these defensemen really that Sportsnet
yeah,
like.
doesn't really
I
make sense.
I want to know what the cap hit is for what they're saying.
Oh, their projected mock draft. That would be an interesting thing to look into. I should do that.
Yeah, like what's the cap hit? Oh, here it is. Minimum cap hit 63 million.
Yes. So that's the cap
Matt,
floor.
yeah, max cap hit. Yeah. Well,
81.
what, bro? They have these guys sitting at 63 million. They're saying that they're going to sit 18 million below the cap.
Not a chance. And if they do, then they're going to get some big touted free agents.
18 million below the cap? And
Well,
why?
they're going to, if they do that, they're either, I mean, think about it. $18 million. You want to go get Jack Eichel? Save him from the Buffalo Sabres? You want to go
I mean,
get some of those other free agents that you just mentioned?
I mean, like,
It's very possible.
dude, they don't even have Price on this list, eh?
No, because they don't think he's going to get drafted for the reason that you said, which is the whole
The injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could easily draft him. Just put him on LTIR, man, and he's not an issue at all with your cap. Like, hello.
Oh, I know.
It's not like we haven't seen that before. Like, what are we doing? So Drieger, Kakinen, Vanacek, and then Decord. Okay, and then I don't like Giordano. Great for the defense, but
Yeah. The defense is pretty bad in this.
yeah, it's
in
terrible.
This draft
This
for
is
whatever
not
reason.
good.
No,
Oh,
it's not.
it's because they're $18 million below the cap. That's
Right.
why. Dude,
Which I don't-
spend the
I don't
money,
know
man.
why
It's
they would do
literally
that.
your first year. You need to make a name for your team. If you guys don't do well in your first season, if you're a flop, man, not gonna go well.
And the ownership has said that they can spend some money, so I think they're going to do that.
Dude, oh, absolutely. And they can get really solid guys. It doesn't matter if Price doesn't play this season. If you have a name like Carey Price on your team, unreal. You can have Yanni Gord. You can have Vladimir Tarasenko. You can have fucking Gabriel Landeskog. Put Killorn on your LTIR as well. Like, you can have some solid names with this team. And they just, whatever, this Sportsnet crap.
Do you just go Vegas 2.0? Now, speaking of Vegas,
Honestly, it's worked out so well, man.
right.
Like, why wouldn't you? It's literally the way to do it. Get all these names, great, and then you use them as fodder.
Now, speaking of Vegas, they are exempt from this draft.
Oh yes, you don't like that, and I am okay with it. And here we go. Put them up.
So, here's the reason I don't like this.
Okay.
In previous expansion drafts, previous expansion teams were not always exempt before. Vegas being one of the first, actually, I believe, to be exempt, if not,
Okay.
whatever, I'm wrong. But regardless, they are definitely not the first team to. They're definitely not the first team to be exempt, but they're also, getting away with a lot. They got away with a lot in the expansion draft itself. A lot of teams made some really dumb moves, which the NHL has now put limiters on so that Seattle can't do it. So exactly, right? So you allowed this team to do these things that you didn't like, so you've now limited Seattle from them, but you're also letting this team get away with more by not making them participate in this expansion draft.
Yeah.
Also, they've been so good, they can easily afford to lose a player, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is fair. Like, my opinion on this, regardless of whatever, is just like, you're a new team. You just built this team. Like, let's say they take one of your main guys. Like, that just kind of blows. I mean, like, and I understand like where you're coming from too. I don't really care. Like, if it was one or the other, I wouldn't bat an eye, and I'm not right now. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Well, because so here's who they I mean, they have to, if they were to submit a protected list, they would have to protect Mark Stone and Alex Pietrangelo because they both have no move clauses. Now, do you protect Marc-Andre Fleury or Robin Lehner? It's a good question. I would probably protect Fleury.
Same.
Based on his performance. However, it's a 1-year, $7 million contract, whereas Lehner has $5 million until 2025. So it's a debate that could be had. So a goalie, and then you've got Mark Stone and Alex Pietrangelo. Now, you're probably going to protect Max Pacioretty, Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson, I would say. So that's 4 forwards. You're probably going to want to protect Shea Theodore, potentially Braden McNabb. So that's 4 defensemen. That's probably the list that I would submit if I was the Vegas Golden Knights. Okay, you've got 4 forwards, 4 defensemen, and a goalie. That's one of the styles you could do. You could also do 3 defensemen and a goalie. Actually, no, I've only listed 3 defensemen. I would expose Nicholas Hague, Zach. Or I would not expose Nicholas Hague, but I believe he's exempt because he's on yes, he is. He would be exempt because he's on a entry-level contract. So he would be exempt. I would expose Alex Martinez because he's a UFA. And so I would protect Pietrangelo, Theodore, McNabb, Stone, Pacioretty, Karlsson, Marchessault, Smith, Tuck, and then I don't know, Chandler Stevenson, I guess. Maybe Brett Howden because he's 23, or Nicholas Roy because he's 24. You could probably leave Chandler Stevenson exposed, get a centerman some other way. I would expose Ryan Reeves because he's 34 years old, $1.75 million, a UFA in the following season for 1 year. Maybe expose Keegan Colasar or protect Colasar again. Like, there's 3 younger guys here that you could kind of toss up to protect, or Chandler Stevenson. You don't have to protect Nosek, Janmark, or Nolan Patrick. Nolan Patrick because you just acquired him, and Janmark and Nosek because they're UFAs. Really, Vegas is not losing that much. I would argue that several Canadian teams specifically would lose more.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Yeah. They could be a part of it, or they couldn't be a part of it. I just think, like, in terms of, like, if you want to keep everything fair, you say, you have a new team, you've been at this for 4 years. Okay, like, maybe we just let you still have a solid, base here to grow in the future, rather than, take just another thing away. And albeit there's all these other things with what they've been given and blah blah blah, but yeah, I think regardless, they were playing within the rules of what was available to them, and albeit the NHL changing them now, whatever, they did what they did.
It's very funny,
right?
And I think 4 years is enough time.
Sure,
but anyways,
sure. Let's say that it is.
I mean, it's been enough time for Vegas. Hasn't been enough time for some other teams.
If it's enough time to get a degree, it's enough time for you to build a hockey team, right?
Exactly. Except if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah. Well,
anyways.
Yeah. In another tragic news, Lewis Hamilton,
yes,
destroyed Max Verstappen, and I will stand by that claim.
So the whole incident, obviously, we're talking about now the Silverstone, the British Grand Prix that just happened this past weekend. By the way, Max Verstappen has won the last 2 Grand Prix, the last 3 actually. The French Grand Prix, the German Grand Prix, and the Austrian Grand Prix. Now we're in the United Kingdom, and of course, the British man wins on home soil. but not without controversy, as Sean just alluded to with the whole Max Verstappen incident. Now,
Right.
we had a disagreement, and by we, I mean us and Gavin. We figure because he's British, that the incident, while it was penalized, was a fair incident. This is from Gavin's perspective. And that Lewis Hamilton had full right to that corner, and Max Verstappen should have given him room. Now, the other half of the story, which is Sean and I, believe that Max Verstappen was taking the racing line. There was still enough room for Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton proceeds to make contact with Verstappen's rear wheel, sending him into a spinning, dangerous crash into the wall, causing $1 million in damages to cars and sending Verstappen to hospital for precautionary reasons.
And luckily,
Verstappen sent out a tweet afterwards calling the incident disgraceful and unsportsmanlike. And Lewis Hamilton has basically said, other than, I don't think he said a whole lot on social media other than that, the clips that have been posted about him being like, it's my line, I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, like it was a racing incident, and
right.
Sure, you can argue that all you want. And for Gavin, if he watches this, I did look at the rules. I did look at what is considered legal and what is not considered legal, and there's a bunch of things going on here. It's not just as simple as Lewis took the inside line and he passed his rear wheel and therefore he has the racing line, because that's not actually what the FIA states in the rules. If both cars if you're halfway past the car, it's actually both drivers' faults, okay, if there's an incident. But what I don't like in this scenario, and this is Red Bull, who was it? Christian Horner, who's the team principal.
Yeah.
And obviously you're going to be biased towards your own driver. I get that. But he does make a great point saying that when you put a wheel up on the inside at Copes, or what is it? Copes? What's the corner? I don't know how to say this.
I believe it's Copes.
Copes. Okay. One of the fastest corners in the World Championship. It's an ill-judged and a huge risk by Lewis to both drivers, and I agree with that. And that's actually in the rules. If you go on the inside and you push a guy outside of the track, that's actually an illegal move. You're not allowed to do that. And he did it to Charles Leclerc as well, to pass him for the first place. And that's dangerous, man. If this is one of the fastest corners in World Championships and you decide to do this to two drivers after you've already sent one to the hospital from doing the same shitty move, that's a serious problem. All right, and you can call it a racing move all you want, but the guy first weaves to the outside, brings Verstappen out there, pushes to the inside, and you see Verstappen try and go for it, but realizes he can't do that because it's considered a weave, which is illegal. And then he maintains his line, going into the corner. Yeah, Hamilton passes that rear wheel. He does get halfway past the car. And I understand that then at that point, it's both drivers that are responsible. Now, there is an issue when, what's considered the apex of the corner as well, and who has the lead at that point. And if you do look right at, halfway through that corner, it is Verstappen that has the lead there. He is faster through the corner than Hamilton. And I don't know if Hamilton broke there or braked there at that point. I don't know. But, he does have room to the inside. It's not Verstappen's fault that your car has oversteer.
Verstappen has just simply slower through the corners, because we know that Red Bulls are better at cornering than Mercedes.
Right. And I get Verstappen has room to the outside. He does. You
know who else had room to the outside? Lewis Hamilton, to pass him on the outside if he wanted to.
Yeah, which is what he originally was intending. And you see that with the move prior to the corner. And now, I think just the issue is, like, if you're going to make a dumb, risky-ass move like that ends up sending a driver to the hospital, and your response is, oh, it's, a racing move, I don't know what else there is to do, or, oh, he turned into me. Well, that's not really what happened. And like, I understand people like Gavin have different views of this. Um, but, but like, I just,
Well,
and there's been articles written about this same move that he's done multiple times to even his own teammates.
Mhm.
Like, why do you do this, man? I get like it's like a dive bomb. You basically racing into the corner, you pull an inside risky move, and you go full speed into it, and you got to expect this guy to move to the outside and possibly go off the track, which is what Leclerc did. Like, I just don't think that's responsible. And now, like, all driving isn't responsible. It's racing, but there's still like a level of responsibility you have for other people's well-being, which is why you have rules like this. And I found a great article. I can't remember what it was, but it does go through all the scenarios of like legal, illegal, and a lot of like gray area passes that have happened and have been considered issues. And this is a big one, which has been done before. So anyway, I don't know what your opinion is, but
I just kind of I saw this incident and thought back to the Bottas Russell incident, where Russell thinks about going to the outside, then takes the inside, and Bottas kind of squeezes him out, and Russell goes onto the grass, and they end up taking each other out. To me, this is a driver taking a risky move, a dangerous move, and not pulling it off, and sending a guy to the hospital. I think it's pretty cut and dry in that sense. And I would be interested to see how Gavin would feel about it if it was, Max Verstappen versus Carlos Sainz, or Max Verstappen versus Lance Stroll. That if it wasn't Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, one of the drivers that we know Gavin likes, would his opinion be different?
Yeah.
As I'm totally calling out this man's bias without him having any ability to defend himself.
Right. Well, he should watch and then respond.
And then rage quit.
Yeah, well, I just think it's completely irresponsible to do it not only one time, but then you do it again to Leclerc, man. Like,
right, and especially in my opinion, Leclerc deserved the podium in this race over Hamilton.
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody would agree with you, or at least the loudest.
And on top of that, I mean, we can go to the other positive from this race. I mean, Lando Norris has had, I believe it was the most top 10 or most consecutive top 10 finishes. He's got 15 straight top 10 finishes.
Unreal.
I believe the post was.
That's great.
So super awesome for Lando Norris. Daniel Ricciardo seems to be finally figuring things out a little bit. Finishing fifth, still like 14 seconds behind his teammate. But I mean, at least he was fifth and not 10th or whatever, which
right.
Yuki Tsunoda was 10th.
Hey.
Yeah, we love that.
Good job, big guy.
And just one final jab at Gavin, who asked us where the Canadians finished. Lance Stroll finished 8th. Just by the way.
Mic drop.
So, and Nicholas Latifi wasn't even in last. He beat Kimi Räikkönen, Sergio Perez, Nikita Mazepin, Mick Schumacher, excuse me, and then Sebastian Vettel, who did also not finish.
Where did they start, the Canadian boys?
I believe in those positions. I'm not super sure what the pole positions were prior in qualifying. However, we have the Hungarian Grand Prix coming up in a couple of weeks, so we'll leave that for the beginning of August to preview. If we have a podcast before then, we should have one this weekend. But before we wrap up the Formula One stuff, because I do want to just briefly touch on the CFL.
Oh, yes.
Now, we've both shared our opinions on the incident.
Right.
And there were other people who shared their opinions on Lewis Hamilton as a human being.
Yeah.
And in
I didn't even.
particular, his skin color.
It's insane, man. It's actually insane to me that this is something you have to still talk about. I don't know why the first thing that people attack is this dude's skin color. I get, like, it's, if you're that shallow minded, you look at him and you go, okay, wow, this is one thing I'm gonna attack. It's like, also, what are you attacking? He's the most successful F1 driver in how long?
Ever.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So what
Ever.
do you have to say about this guy? Like, okay, cool. He's a different race than you are. Who actually cares? And, like, one, let's care that Max Verstappen's okay. Two, just call him out about his dumb move. Like, you don't need to point out his skin color, man. This gotta stop.
Right. And, you know, this is one of the most multicultural grids we've had in a little while. We've got Yuki Tsunoda, who's Japanese, Sergio Perez, who's Mexican, you know, two Spanish gentlemen, Lewis Hamilton, who is a person of color. Like, this just shouldn't be happening anymore.
No.
This shouldn't be.
No, there's been joint statements by the FIA and a bunch of other groups. And I just, why? Whatever.
Yeah. Let's go back.
I mean, not whatever in terms of the situation, just whatever. Like, I just, why, man?
Yeah. It's unfortunate that we still have to expend energy on defending people because of their color.
Yeah.
We, you know, it's 2021, people.
Yeah. That's yeah. I just can't believe it.
Flipping it around, we actually have to go back to hockey for a second before I bring up the CFL.
Oh my God.
Because today we had some history made in the NHL.
Made.
Luke,
history made.
Yep, history.
You said
made.
A mystery made.
Oh,
I was like,
no.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Luke
Talking
Prokop.
about diversity.
Yep. Talk about diversity. Luke Prokop, Nashville Predators draft pick, Alberta native, announced today, Monday, July the 19th, that he is proudly and publicly gay.
Woo!
Prokop becomes the first active NHL player under contract to come out as gay.
Unreal,
which
man.
blows my mind.
Real. Yeah, first of all, that's
First
even
of
a
all.
thing.
We had to wait for a 19-year-old to be the first in 2021 to be the first active NHL player to be comfortable enough to come out as gay.
This is the best thing, though, that you're now seeing these younger generations who grew up in a more openly accepting society who are starting to feel like it's not that big of a thing to come out and just say, this is who I am. And not, I don't know, you don't have to apologize for it. That's awesome. Like, there's no better world we can have than somebody just saying, hey, this is me, this is who I am. And we all just go, okay. You know, that's great. You're accepting. It's not about not caring about if a person's black or Asian or gay or straight or bi. It's not about not caring. It's about accepting openly everybody for who they are. And yeah, it doesn't affect you. I get that in that sense. And these are for the people who just say, because a lot of the comments you see, especially on sports pages, who cares? Who cares if this is the first black woman referee? Who cares if this is the first Punjabi commentator? Who cares if this is, the first openly gay NHL player? Why do you make it about being gay? Why do you make it about race? It's not about that. It's not about that at all. It's just to say, listen, these people have made it to this position. You can too. Mm-hmm. They're accepted just as you will be accepted, because this is the world that we live in and we need to live in, where it's just better for everybody. So anyway, that's my rant.
A portion
I think it's amazing.
a portion from his statement. I believe that living my authentic life will allow me to bring my whole self to the rink and improve my chances of fulfilling my dreams.
That's
And
dope.
he is now paving the way for future people to do the same. Maybe we'll see some older former NHLers maybe a little bit more comfortable to do the same as well, if they so choose. And he's a highly coveted prospect as well. So hopefully Prokop will see some NHL games in the near future. Spent the last 4 seasons with the Calgary Hitmen in the WHL, and he's a
Nice.
6'5" defenseman.
Guy's
So
massive.
for the league who still loves big burly defensemen, maybe he'll make it up there. And of course, this is the Nashville Predators who just ditched Ryan Ellis. So
yeah.
I
could not believe that. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So Nashville is obviously finally committed to some sort of rebuild. Pekka Rinne also retired, so they're down to the foundation again. And I think the foundation is going to need some reconstruction in Nashville, and maybe Luke Prokop can be a part of that.
Hell yeah.
CFL training camp opened up a week ago, and it's going pretty well. There's very few players who've tested positive for COVID. There were 3 false positives a couple days ago, which brought the count down. I believe they are under 50 in the entire league. Which is awesome when you've got 48-man rosters.
50 of them tested positive?
50 total in the whole league.
Okay, right. And a lot
active
of them,
cases.
How many of these guys are in Canada?
They're all here because it's training camp.
They're all in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Man, that's interesting. I wonder where the count goes. Like, if you're an American who tests positive in Canada, are you then put on the Canadian positive list, or are you put on the American positive list?
That is an interesting question because well, they were given exemption to come up, right? Like they were told that they only needed to quarantine for 1 week instead of 2 when they came up here, so that they could be ready for training camp when it opened.
Right, which they just changed the rules here anyway, so you don't even have to quarantine if you have a negative test.
Right. So they've still been under pretty strict protocols to come here so that training camp can run. And I mean, they've had less than 50 total positive tests in the last week and a half now, I think, for training camp.
Right. I'm just looking at, I want to see what the cases are like in Canada today. We've had 712 cases added for all of Canada. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, does the 50 count towards that, making it higher, or what? Does it count towards the American? But anyway, I just thought that was really interesting.
Potentially could. Now, there's been all kinds of transactions all across the league. The Toronto Argos made a trade today, sending Alan Darby to the Blue Bombers. And they signed a running back, DJ Foster. The Montreal Alouettes released the Canadian kicker, Tyler Crapigna.
Alouettes.
Among other things. Now, here I've actually got the test results here. The Canadian Football League, through pre-training camp and quarantine, the league administered approximately 6,000 COVID-19 tests to Tier 1 personnel, which includes players, coaches, and supporting staff. So my number was way too high. Those tests resulted in a total of 10 individuals returning positive tests.
Wow. Fantastic.
5 of those positive tests occurred prior to the affected individuals' travel to their respective CFL markets. They were subsequently not allowed to travel or participate in training camp until they are cleared. And then tests come back negative, which they had 3 of as a matter of today. Any individual that tests positive is prevented from joining or is removed from team activities, isolated or quarantined in accordance to the CFL's return to play. They will continue to provide updates on tests to Tier 1 personnel, but it will not identify affected individuals or clubs because getting sick is a personal matter, which is, only to be disclosed by that person and not a writer for a right-wing newspaper a la Steve Simmons with Austin Matthews. Just a final couple of things. I'll go specifically on the Hamilton Tiger Cats a little bit. They are looking pretty good. They've lost a couple of guys to free agency and retirement. One most notably today again as well. Monday, July 19th. Mike Filer, longtime center, longtime hometown guy.
Great guy. Great dude.
Fantastic person as well as a player. No, I know you're laughing, but you're not wrong.
I know. No, I know him. He's awesome. He's my brother's sister's friend.
Oh, perfect. I tweeted basically saying that Mike Filer became one of those players that was just part of the identity of the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Dude, I'm so pumped to go to another game with you, man. I had a great time. Jared introduced me to the CFL, and I'm not a football guy. Like, the NFL for me is like, oh God, awful. But CFL, man, damn, that's exciting. It's a good time. So Grey Cup for sure.
Especially a Hamilton Tiger Cat game because that place is always bumping. It's the thing to do here in the summer. Man. And week 1 is officially opening Thursday, August the 5th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern when the Hamilton Tiger Cats visit the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a rematch. The last Grey Cup, of which Hamilton lost.
That's what, 7 years ago? Nah,
yeah, it feels like 7 years ago. Jeez. On my birthday, no less.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll give you a hug. I'll give you a hug this time. Make you feel better.
Sucked. Anyways, yes, Mike Filer's retired. Brandon Banks, who was thinking of retiring, has not. He is at training camp. One of their top receivers, of course. The Tiger Cats did lose Courtney Stephen as well to retirement, but it's unfortunately not as big of a loss as you might think because he actually didn't play for the Tiger Cats in 2019. He was with Calgary and previously was not really being used very much by either team, truly. So it kind of felt like his career was coming to an end anyways, but the Tiger Cats made a big tribute to Courtney Stephen as well, and as of course Mike Filer today as well. But quarterback Jeremiah Masoli's looking good. He's looking healthy. And they've also got backup Dane Evans, of course, who carried them to the Grey Cup and unfortunately wasn't able to pull it off. But it was his first full season in the CFL, first championship game in the NFL or CFL as a starter. Excuse me, Freudian slip there. And a gross one. But the Hamilton Tiger Cats are looking good. Winnipeg is also looking good. The issue is injecting a healthy fan base back into markets like BC, Calgary, maybe not even Calgary as much, but Toronto, Edmonton, and even Montreal to a lesser extent. But they were starting to get fans back again when they were becoming a bit more exciting. Hopefully this rebrand for Edmonton generates some excitement, certainly with younger fans. I know there's been a lot of older fans that have been like, I'm never going to call them the Elks. I'm like, all right.
Cool. Who cares?
Yeah.
Just like you go burn your jersey because you don't like it and whatever. Like it's just those people,
right?
Oh, I don't like this. I'm going to destroy it. And then they go to games anyway. And you're like, okay. You did nothing. Nothing.
You already spent your money. In the end, it's football.
Yeah. I've been a season ticket holder for 20 years. I'm never going to another game. Cool. You don't have to. You just gave them 20 years worth of money. Who cares? They'll find somebody else.
And guess what? Now your season's ticket is open to a person who will actually want it more than you.
Yeah.
So there you go.
People you want at the games, people you want being fans. Because if you don't want to be a fan, cool. Please don't be.
Exactly.
It's like all those fans of F1 who are going to say crap about Lewis Hamilton's race. You just go do something else. All right? Go play shuffleboard with your family.
Have a shuffleboard. Have a nice, sheltered, angry little life about...
Better luck next week.
Exactly. Bitches. And maybe we'll end it there. I'm excited for the CFL season. Opens up August 5th, as I said, with... Nope, there's not going to be any preseason games, I don't think. Oh, yes, there is. Preseason A, perhaps. The schedule is not going to show me. Let me load it. No, there is no preseason. We go straight into it. Week 1, August 5th, Hamilton at Winnipeg. August 6th, BC at Saskatchewan. August 7th, a doubleheader, Toronto at Calgary and Ottawa at Edmonton.
Well.
So we wish better luck,
baby.
Next week to all the losers. We'll actually be back later this week.
Gavin.
Ideally. But yes, specifically Gavin, because he is a major loser for not being on this show. It's the first show without him.
Gets pissed. Oh, is this the first one, eh?
Mm-hmm.
We'll replaced, bitch. No.
Basically.
No, never.
It is what it is. We'll see you all next week.